Think global, lose local. Does that sound a bit strange? How can one think globally and yet lose locally? Well, take a look at what happened to Nokia in India, where they lost market share in certain categories of phones to a 2008 local Indian startup company called Micromax. Or let's go to China. Take a look at Baidu, the local search engine that has an overwhelming 99% market share, far ahead of its international competition in China. Think about the name, because the clue begins with that name. What does the name Baidu mean? The word Baidu literally means hundreds of times, an allusion to a 12th century Chinese poem. It represents a persistent search for the ideal. So, starting with the name, you can see the connection with the local context. The fact that Baidu understands that local context so well and acts upon it. Even more evident if you look at some of their features that have made them so popular. The Baidu Post Bar, the largest bulletin board of its kind in China, or all the free music content that it provides online. It is this deep understanding that makes them a winner locally. And this is what I have been saying for a decade as I have traveled across the world speaking at conferences, and I'll repeat it once more because it's even more pertinent today. If you're only thinking globally, you will not win locally. And this is something you cannot afford to let happen now. Why? Because of three very important developments in the world. First, all the action is moving to the emerging markets. Consider this. Nearly 57% of the 1 billion households who will have more than an annual income of $20,000 US are going to be living in the emerging markets in the next 15 years. Or consider the fact that 7 emerging economies, China, India, Brazil, Mexico, Russia, Indonesia, and Turkey, are expected to contribute nearly 50% of the global GDP growth in the next decade. So if all the action is moving to the emerging markets, isn't it of the utmost importance that you understand the local context today? Second reason, the population in the emerging markets today, they've changed. They're different from what they were 10 years ago. And how so? Today, the local population of users, of consumers, are very articulate, very clear, very demanding of the products and services that they want to buy and use. In fact, I quote from a recent article in McKinsey Quarterly that talks about the fact that long gone are the days when global corporations could charge an emerging market customer a premium to buy a product developed in a totally different context. Today, the ability to succeed in emerging markets requires not only that you understand local preferences, local tastes, but also that you actually can produce the products and services in context, in those cultures. And third reason, the emerging markets are hotbeds of entrepreneurship. So if you are not thinking locally about your potential emerging market customer, be absolutely sure there's a local entrepreneur next to your local potential customer who's already thinking. In fact, the emerging markets are very much like galaxies unto themselves. And you have to aim your Hubble telescope of strategy at the emerging market deep fields and understand the local laws of nature that will enable you to come up with the most appropriate products. Just like the Hubble telescope actually did when it was aimed at an area of space which didn't seem to have anything in it. And when the images were processed, what the scientists found were 30,000 galaxies in that particular deep field of space. So I recommend right now, get your Hubble telescopes out and aim them at the emerging markets. Remember, the emerging markets have already aimed their strategy telescopes at the mature markets, the developed market deep fields, and they're experiencing immense success. So it's time that you start the other way around. Start thinking locally. You will lose nothing but your apprehensions and your problems about not having the right products.